Hi guys, I hope everyone's well. Sorry, we've had a bit of technical difficulty. I'm just waiting for Anthony to jump back on to the live and then we'll continue our discussion. So just give us a couple of minutes. Thank you for being patient. In the meantime, I hope everybody is keeping safe. I hope everyone is well and is using this time very proactively and staying productive. Yeah, it is difficult times and challenging times that we're all in, and I hope you guys do find some sort of inspiration through the conversations that we are having. So I'm just going live with that. Connect. Shouldn't take too long. Just a couple of minutes, guys. Hey, buddy. Sorry, I don't know what happened. They just disconnected.
That's all right, man. It happens.
Fantastic. Yeah, you were saying obviously to stay as proactive as you can. So just touch up on
Yeah.
what you were saying before we got disconnected.
I mean, it's big on creating things. So for me, when I work with clients and we get to this place now, like when all this stuff happened, the world shut down. A lot of my
Hmm.
clients at the same place. A lot of people I just message us like, what do I do? And to be honest, the solution is create something. And it's the
Yeah.
process of creation that gives you the ebb and the flow, the ups, the downs, the wins, the loss. It's something to focus your energy on, because where your
Hmm.
focus goes, your energy flows. And there's something to be said about the process of going through the dirt to come to the top, and the excitement. And then what happens is along that journey, you're learning skill sets that honestly, like I don't even know when I'm going to use half the stuff I've learned during this
Yeah.
quarantine. But what I
Yeah.
do know is it will be used. Like there will be a benefit to it at some point in time, and I'm happy to see what that looks like when the time comes. So for a lot of people, if you're stuck at home, like what do I do? I'm telling you, man, the
Hmm.
solution is to go out and create something, make something, do something, write something, build something, draw something, like
Yeah.
do something, because the action ends suffering. In all life and all things we do,
100%.
if we're in some space of suffering, it's the action that ends it. It's the thing you do that actually is like, all right, I'm in a different mental space. I used to have a
Hmm.
motorcycle back in the day. It
Yeah.
was after the NFL, because it was illegal for us to have a motorcycle essentially in the NFL. Not illegal, but like bad for the contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, man, for me it was like I loved just getting out when things were going crazy. I would just get out and just go ride my bike, because like
Yeah.
when you get all this stuff going on, you can't think about all that and try not to die on a motorcycle,
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's either the
that,
or.
yeah, so the focus of that one thing helped me get to a space of having a better, clearer mind.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's
Yeah,
100% true. And then with everybody that's just coming back online, as Anthony said, work on yourself because at this time, like you might not find the benefit of what you're investing in right now, but somewhere down the line, the skills that you're gaining, the content that you're creating, you will definitely be able to use. So that's extremely, extremely important.
yeah, yeah,
So Anthony, now I want to get into a little bit about yourself. So if you want to start off by just, we briefly touched up on about your background, but just going a bit
yeah.
more depth, just so everybody knows where you've come from, where your background started, what challenges you face. So I'm extremely keen to hear about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, so there's always the good stuff, the highlight reel, right? There's the Ninja Warrior, there's the NFL. That's all good. Like, don't be wrong. Like, I
Yeah.
enjoy that I accomplished that, but that wasn't in the cards for me growing up. That wasn't
Mhm.
statistically a possibility, to be honest. So I grew up in foster care. So at 3 years old, my
Yeah.
real mom gave me away. She gave me and my
Oh,
three
wow.
siblings, my brother, and my two sisters, gave us away. It's like I don't want
Mhm.
my kids. So we spent a lot of our younger. I mean, for me, 3 years old to 14, we were in the foster care system. There
Oh,
was, I think,
wow.
6 houses I went to. Five of the houses, well, six of them, man, I got beaten. I mean, I got tortured, I got starved, like really
Oh,
weird
wow.
stuff. Because what happens is back in that system, you're what's called a paycheck. What that
Hmm.
means is, as long as I don't die, they still get a paycheck for having me there. So you have this
Hmm.
situation where essentially it's like, man, people just were horrible human beings and didn't treat me right. But hey, you learn to navigate it. And so I was a mean little kid for a while. I used to get in trouble like a lot of
Yeah.
people do, and in
Hmm.
talking statistically, if you look at any prison in America, 75% of the inmates are former foster kids. 50% of the
Oh,
homeless
wow.
population are former foster kids. Like 1% of foster kids ever graduated from uni or college out here. And so, like, I wasn't statistically supposed to do much, but man, at 6 years old,
You
I got
beat all
put
the
into my
odds already
family.
from a young age. Hmm.
Oh yeah, 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 very much so, man. It was big. The family I got into was very key. The mom in that family was big. When I first got into the family, I'm the only black person in an all white family, so I have that
Oh, wow.
unique dynamic of identity in diversity. My real mom loved me to death, and she loved me past my crazy. Like the first like week in the house, I was busting lamps. I was told like I was a crazy little kid, just because you want to go back to your real parents. Like, but my mom
Yeah,
was a horrible
100%.
person, but yeah, you don't know these things. So I end up going to this point where like, yeah, I end up, getting this family that loves me, and man, like the first foster dad was kind of a bad. Dude, there you are. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, just not sure what's going on, but yeah, we're here.
I was just talking and walk. I got out of my car just in case that might have something to do with it, anyways. But yeah, man. So 14 years old, I got a chance to play football. It was
Hmm.
cool because when you play football, you get the opportunity to hit somebody and not get in trouble. That was a pretty good fun thing, man. So yeah, man,
Yeah,
I got this
definitely.
new opportunity, and then my adoptive mom got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which kind of sucked a lot.
Oh, wow.
And so, man, my childhood was a lot of ups and downs, dude. I think that's kind of the thing. It's a lot
Mhm.
of ups and downs. And then I got to the point where I checked out because whenever we as human beings try things and we're not good at them, we kind of back out. So for me, I tried football. I was horrible at football. So I kind of checked out of it. I was like, I don't want to do all this.
Mhm.
And that was the mentality I had. And eventually found out that like I had the possibilities to do and be more. And so at one point I made this internal choice of like, you know what? I'm just gonna find a way to be dope at something. And so that was football. I leaned into it and I gave my all to it.
Mhm.
And then it turned into something great, man. I got a chance to, a couple years later, get a college scholarship, play at Oregon,
Mhm.
had my son at 20 years old, had
Wow.
had met my real dad at 21,
Mhm.
did a whole bunch. And then after that, what did I do? Oh, I went and played the NFL. So I got a chance to go and be blessed to play the NFL we talked about.
Yeah.
Came home from the NFL. And then here's the thing is NFL after that, like it's tough to find something because a lot of people, you get to that pinnacle. Like football was the pinnacle for me, the top. And then
Mm.
now whenever you lose something you've done for a long time in your life, you have these identity crises, like these
Yeah.
things. Like so, for me, I had this major crisis of like, damn, like who am I without that thing? Who am I
Yeah.
without football? Who
Yeah.
am I without? Some people military. Some people, who am I when my
Mhm.
kids go to college? Like, who am I if I lost my job? I lose the relationships. We question a lot of things. So for me, football took a lot. I had to figure out who was Anthony without this, and I tried to find my identity again. So I did so by looking into, just building this business, this gym
Yeah.
business. And I'm building a
And
business,
what
man.
inspired this business? Where did you get this idea? What was
I
the whole motivation behind it?
didn't want a boss anymore. When you
Yeah.
play college football, you play NFL football, you have a boss. Like
Yeah.
and the boss is your coach, and the coaches and the GM and everybody who has control of your life. And I
Mhm.
don't like that, man. I don't do well with the
Yeah.
thought of having to ask somebody if I can get 2 weeks off to go do what I want. That
Yeah.
just the thought of that makes me sick to my stomach. And it's not to say that somebody else who is doing that is wrong. My best friend in the world, like that's what he does. And I respect him because he likes that. People
Mhm.
have two areas what they some people like stability, some
Yeah.
like variety. It's a
Yeah.
definitive difference as humans. So for
Mhm.
him, the thought of not knowing like what he's gonna make income wise next year makes him sick to his stomach. But in the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial world, that's how it works. I don't know for sure. I don't have a steady paycheck like that. Like
Mhm.
I build a business and we have great years and you have bad years and you have
Yeah.
so-so years, right? So like the difference is he has structure and he has a knowing. And for me, I would much rather have variety than the knowing because it gives me peace. And
Yeah.
so that's why I built the business. And that's why I think a lot of people I know build a business because we're just trying to I want to do my own thing. Like I'm on a, what is this, Tuesday? I don't even know what day of the week it is. I think it's a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm out here. Look, I'll show you exactly where I'm at. This is me on a Tuesday morning. I am out here. My son's doing track practice over there. There's people playing this game, and I'm on the bleachers because I got out of my car, and I get to essentially this is me working,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like that,
You get to live
and
life on your own terms. Yeah.
yeah, on my own terms. And I'm still able to be dad. So like my son and I on the way here got to chat and have a conversation. Like that, we'll be done. Then we'll take him. We'll get my daughter. I got podcasts, interviews. I got coaching clients later. Then at about 3 o'clock, I'm off the grid. I can watch Transformers 5 with my son because we've been talking about doing that. All right. So
Yeah.
and so here's the thing: is it sounds good. It sounds like, oh man, living a life. This shit's hard, man. This
Oh,
is, excuse my language. Like this is, it's difficult. And for some people, we're built for it, and some aren't. And if you're built for it, the worst thing you can do is go and just stay in your regular job because there'll
yeah.
always be a part of you that's yearning for it. And for me, this was why I went into the business world. Like I had the football stuff, and that was an expression, right? Because it's a job, but not your typical job. But then
Yeah.
when that's gone, like then I got a job at 24 Hour Fitness as a personal trainer for a week. And I was like, whoa, I can't do it. I've had a job for 7 days since the NFL. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
A job with a boss. I've had a job with a boss for 7 days since 2008, and the thought of it, man, it's just like it's just different. Here's the other part of it is I get to do something really cool that the world gets to enjoy. Like
Hmm.
that's one of the things I love. Like the work I do, what I share. It's a
Yeah.
lot of time thinking, retrospective, introspective, just to see like where can I benefit and what do I to bear all for? Because there's things that most people won't share that I purposely share because it's real. And in the
Yeah.
real it benefits people. Like for me, after I got back from the NFL, my marriage fell apart. Like my wife had an affair, man, that broke me. Like my kids now had the family falling apart. The business was for the first few years, the business was horrible. It sucked. 9 months in, I was almost bankrupt in the business.
And
I
how
was
did
getting
you keep going? Because Anthony, that's where a lot of people will quit or give
stop.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I got hit. I got hit with an
with
eviction.
what you've got going on, and your whole story so far, Anthony, from childhood to date, as in from what you're telling me, you've been faced with the most difficult challenges where some people might not even have these experiences,
Yeah,
and you've gone through it. By the age of 21, you built and lost more or less a lot of your identity, your background, your everything. Because then, what kept you going?
yeah. That's a good question, man. I don't know. It wasn't friends and family. In fact, when I got hit with the eviction notice, I had 2 weeks to come up with 4 times the amount of money I had in my bank account
Oh,
anywhere.
wow.
And
Wow.
if I didn't pay it in 2 weeks, I was going bankrupt.
Mm.
And man, I could have easily sat back, gone bankrupt, and like whatever. My wife was like, chalk it up. My best friend was like, dude, give it up. Everybody around me was like, dude, just stop. Just go do
Mhm.
something else. It's not gonna get a job, right? And I don't know what it was, except this little voice inside of me that said, hey, 5, 10 years from now, I do not want to have to look back at this moment and say that I didn't give every single bit of me outside of what I know, outside of
Yeah.
what's comfortable to make this work. That was really it. Like, is if I went down swinging, I go down swinging. But damn it, I
Yeah.
was in a swing.
Yeah.
And so
It's that
fast
fighting
forward.
mentality. Nothing's gonna stop you. Unbeatable. I think it's the mindset that's kept you going.
Oh, it's a big piece, 100% a piece of it. I think the football thing was part of it, but it's not even that was an unstoppable mindset. It was more of like I want to love me mindset. Like, because here's the thing: is
Yeah.
if we do something, and I think this trickles into more places than most people understand, is when you try to face an obstacle, and you don't try your hardest, and you fall, you will
Yeah.
always and forever know that you quit or you faltered
Yeah.
or you stumbled. Like you can explain to anybody else whatever you want, but when you're in your dark moments,
Hmm.
that's the thing you have to live with. That's why a lot of people right now, we just opened the conversation with this,
Yeah.
why they're struggling to be at home with themselves because they're with
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah.
They're with that person that they may not love because they know that person gave up on something. They struggle a little bit. And so the way
I
that I always
100%
perceived it,
agree. Yeah.
was that, yeah, so why I do what I do, it's like it's not even a matter of like I'm unbeatable, I'm unstoppable. It's like I gotta make sure that every ounce of what's in my soul is given out towards this because that's the thing I chose. And if
Hmm.
in doing that I do stumble, at least I still love me for giving everything I had. But if I
100%.
don't do that, if I don't give everything, then at the end of the day, it's like, man, I got to live with that guy for the rest of my life, and I know. Like I will know, right? So
Yeah.
that's how I pursue things. Here's the crazy
Yeah.
thing. Because that effort is so like not consistent for a lot of people, and it's so foreign to a lot of people fall. And then people wonder,
Mhm.
why are successful people successful? Like, do they have magic? No, like we get the same problems, if not more, than anybody else. But there's just
100%.
that little seed of, how is future Anthony going to look at this moment? When
Yeah.
he looks
Yeah.
back, is he
And
going
I
to
think
look back?
the point
Go
that you
ahead, go
just
ahead.
mentioned is in when people are at home, that's when you're alone, that's when you truly know who you are. When you're around other
Yeah,
people, we play different characters. We're more or less mirroring the person that's in front of us. But you're 100% right. When you have that time alone and you've got nobody around you, that's when you need to understand who you are, what you want. And it seems like that's where you've spent a lot of time to build yourself, because you understood the core element, and that's you. Now, once you
yeah.
can understand yourself, only then am I right in saying you thought of everybody else and everything else, but first comes you, right?
You show up differently. You think about it, that the person you just talked about, here's one thing I tell people. I don't do well around people who are not settled inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I go out in society and I talk to people, if somebody isn't settled inside, you can tell. Like they're sketch, scatterbrained, they're too talkative, or too over. It's just too much. And
Yeah,
so what
yeah,
I found is, like, people who are settled inside, those are the ones people want to hang out with. Like if you think about, when you go to any place, you see somebody who has this lightness to them, and like a joy, and like they laugh, and like
the
you're
aura, yeah.
drawn to them. You're just
Mm-hmm.
drawn to them. Like there's people, I'm walking
The
into a room
energy.
and I'm like, I don't know who that person is, but I want to go meet them, right? And you go shake their hand, you can feel. And so what I
Yeah,
found is, what you just talked about is, yes, someone who hasn't gone through the stuff to learn, to unpack, to find out who they are. They walk into rooms with this concept of, everybody is judging me, everybody's looking at me. What's wrong with me? I had a guy just messaged me on Instagram earlier. He's like, I have these things, I have conversations with people, and it's like, and I put these things out there, and I get negative feedback. People say
mm-hmm.
things, and he's like, and I know I shouldn't listen to it. When I read these messages, I get hurt. Like I get angry. He's like, I don't know
Yeah,
why I'm angry. Maybe there's something that's settled, it's unsettled, or something that I'm not seeing. And that comes from two places. One is, you think they might be right. Possibly
yeah,
you're thinking they might be right about something. Or two, because you already have some negative self-talk, they're adding fuel to the fire, and just
mm-hmm.
lights you up more, right? And so that's kind of the thing I see a lot of people struggle with. It's like, it's still the same thing. I don't work on me and what's going on
Mm-hmm.
inside me, and then I struggle to get any other thing done. And then man, you're going into life every single day, and you're doing things that just reinforce who you see yourself to be.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I totally agree with that. And I think for lots of people that have joined, and the people that are out there that are struggling with what you want to do, first of all, understand yourself. And I think that's the most important thing. Once you've understood where you want to be, who you want to be, then focus on everybody else, because a lot of us do get caught with the pressure of society that, oh, I need to do this for X and Y and Z, but then we forget about who we are. And the sacrifice that you made, you said earlier on that your friends, your family, your partner, everybody said quit and go back into whatever it is that they supposedly want you to do. But you
Yeah,
didn't. What you done
yeah,
is you only thought about yourself. In the long run, you knew that, look, if this pans out, I will be in a position where I can do everything, if not more, than what options you guys are giving. And I think for us, the most important thing is first to be able to help ourselves, and then be able to help somebody else. And don't go into anything where, yes, I'm trying to do this for somebody else, because ultimately you might end up damaging the person that's going to be able to provide the level of support that these people need. So hence the
yeah.
reason why I'm truly amazed with your journey so far. Honestly, and that's absolutely inspiring. And I'm sure I've been reading in the comments, a lot of people are actually saying, you're a true inspiration. Anthony, is in terms of personal development, because there must have been a lot of areas where you felt in a scenario where you were a bit uncomfortable, you had to do things that you've never done before. How did
Yeah.
you develop yourself? How did you build yourself to be able to do these things?
You just build it just piece by piece. To this day, I do stuff I hate doing, man. Just last night, so like the world that I operate in, like the online, there's a lot of different areas, right? There's
Yeah,
copyright, there's web development, there's scripting, there's filming videos, editing stuff, speaking on stages, marketing, there's all these different things. And there's a lot of things I dislike doing. Last night I spent like 3 hours developing a brand new quiz that I want to put out to the world. And
Yeah.
developing it, like I got to get the questions, I got to think of the process, I got to think of the automation and the system itself. I got to think of the digital connections. I'm making the
Yeah.
PDFs, I'm scripting the PDFs, I'm connecting to the websites, building the websites, making the emails, connecting the emails, all these little things like I just don't like doing. And then the driving point at this point for me is like you said, once you've helped yourself, the next level is like, how do you help other people?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. There's something called marginal utility in life. Like
Mhm.
the use of something when you have a lot of it early on for you is great. Over time it diminishes. So think about the marginal utility of hamburgers. If I have 10
Yeah.
hamburgers, the first one, like, oh, I'm hungry, it's great. Second one, like, ooh, I'm still good. By the third one, I'm like, I don't think I can have another hamburger, man. But I got
Yeah.
7 more hamburgers. How do I feel good? What's the next level of feeling good? Oh, these people are hungry. Let me feed them the other hamburgers I have, right? And so in
Yeah.
my life, I want that joy. And so what I find is the stuff that I did like last night, like I've
Hmm.
got my hamburgers, like I'm good. Like I love my life, what I've created and what I get the freedom to do, man. It's a beautiful thing. And so the only next level for me to be happy is to find a way to make other people happy. So I do the stuff I did last night to
Yeah.
give them the ability to be able to try or see or enter into a space for themselves at one step to make
Hmm.
that joy possible for them. So that's kind of like I do these things I don't like doing because I know why I'm doing it past me. And when it gets
Yeah.
outside of you, man, it's a different thing. But you've really got to, if you're not
Mhm.
settled inside, you can't work on settling other people. You have to work on you before you can go and like, help them be the next level of themselves.
100%. 100%. I agree with that. And even with me, as in, I've got a recruitment agency here back in London. And when I started off, as in, I was quite flexible. I had the option to, continue with my career. I had a wonderful career going for me. But there was not that contentment because I was only making a difference for myself and my life. And that's where I thought that how can I help and impact other people?
Hmm.
And that's where the whole idea of recruitment came up because the satisfaction and the joy that you get to help other people elevate themselves and reach and achieve the goals that they've set out gives you that satisfaction. So not only you're helping somebody else, but you're helping yourself in that process as well. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I'm now on these live calls is because I've gone through a couple of years in business now, and it's gone extremely well. Where I've had amazing clients on the New York Stock Exchange, on the London Stock Exchange, and it's absolutely marvelous. But there was still some sort of element inside me where I felt a bit empty, and that's where this whole live calls and speaking to people. And after post-COVID, obviously, I've got my plan where I'll be sitting down with many more people on a one-to-one basis because I think a lot of people are lacking the inspiration. And the only way I found I got my inspiration was actually listening to people that have gone through similar journeys or had similar experiences in the past because we relate to people that and we like people that have the same sort of experience or come across on a same sort of vibe. And what you were saying earlier on is that energy. When somebody is out there trying to achieve something or make a difference compared to just lazing around and not having any ambition, you feel that energy from both people, and you're naturally drawn to the person that you're more
Hmm.
connected to because you've got more things in common. So you can
Yeah.
resonate with that person better. Hence the
Hmm.
reason why I thought it's extremely important, as in with this whole COVID going on, everybody's sitting at home. The depression rate for people is getting higher because they don't know how to deal with these type of scenarios. And this is the first time in let's say 100 years we've been in such scenario. And right now we have the power in our hands. We've got the technology. We've got these Instagrams. We've got Facebook. We've got all the social platforms where our voice can be heard and your voice can be heard as well. So it's extremely important that you focus on yourself, focus on what's important to you, and understand who is the right person to help you achieve these levels of success or the developments you want to make in your life. Now, Anthony, in obviously your journey, you've had many challenges, and I'm sure throughout your business career ahead, I think there's going to be many challenges that you're going to be continuously facing. How do
Hmm.
you overcome them? I know we've briefly spoken about your past and you trying to give back to the community. But when you are at your lowest point, how do you lift yourself back up?
Yeah, man. There's two. One, you have to borrow joy from people. I think that when you get to a dark place, you kind of
Mhm.
need that hope, and the hope comes from some kind of joy that things can be better. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we can't always produce it ourselves. And so, what I typically do, I borrow joy from people. Like if you go around friends who they just want
Yeah.
to have a beer, a drink, or a talk or something, the idea is that, hey, if I just have a quick conversation with you and I get to this point of having just a chat, like it allows me to come to a more airy space, a joyous space, right? Give you new perspectives. And what
Yeah.
happens is when I'm in those dark places, I always have this internal thought for myself that I tell people
Mhm.
is I've had a lot of dark places and I think about that place and I think, what was a time after that moment where I had a bright smile on my face? Like, did it exist? And usually 100% like it has happened. So I'm like, all right, what do I got to do to get back to that place? And then this is where I talked about action and suffering. So
Yeah.
there's this 95-5 concept I talk about. And 95% of the time, what we usually do is we spend 95% of the time just stewing and festering on a problem. It's so
Mhm.
bad. This sucks. I just sit there and I think about it, think about it, think about it. Maybe 5% of the time, I'll do something to try to go out of my way to feel better. And so what I tell people is you literally have to flip it on its head and say, I'm going to spend 5% of my time stewing and festering and 95% of my time doing something. Because
A
when you're in
hundred.
a bottom place, you're going to stay in the bottom place for longer just because you're staying there. You don't choose to do something. So for me, it's like find something that gives you a little bit of joy. It's an energy thing. It's an environmental thing. It's a physical expression kind of thing. That's why
100%.
people, like, if you think about this, for a lot of people, anger. What do they do when they're angry? We give an outburst. We see in America where everybody's looting and going crazy because it's an emotional pain that's at the action ends their suffering. They think if I break stuff, I feel better, and I yell and I get it out, and I can go home like, oh, I got it out, right? Same thing
Yeah.
for a sadness, right? If I'm sad, I got to do something to get it out, and it can't just sit at home and be bottled up and be quiet, expect it to all to just go away. So if you're in a dark place, definitely find people that you can borrow joy from, and
Mm-hmm.
two, get to the point of literally in your head flipping a switch and say, all right, what can I spend 95% of my time actually doing? Is it
Yeah.
going for a walk? Is it going and mowing lawns? Is it going and giving to some other, do something? Now, every situation is different, right? For some people, like maybe you're broke and you need to get a job. That could be your 95% of the time, right? Or maybe you fell out of love in a relationship. Maybe you need to go find friends again and you need to spend time working on yourself and doing yoga, losing weight, whatever it is. But you got to
Yeah.
do something because that's
A
the
hundred.
only way to get out of those places. You're not going to wake up one day and all of a sudden say, oh, back on my feet again and start going. It just never
Yeah.
works that way.
Yeah. And it's the choice that we all have, and that's what sets apart the successful people to the non-successful people, because it's that choice, and it's you being in control of your own mindset. Because when I go through my experiences, when I am at my lowest point, 100%, I reflect back and I borrow energy from other people. Now,
Yeah.
that's one amazing thing that you've just mentioned, because first of all, I live, breathe, and die that. Whether I'm doing something for my business, whether I'm doing something for my family, I want everybody involved. I want to hear their opinion. At the same time, I'm taking their energy and infusing it into myself to refocus myself and re-energize myself. Then once I've gone through that stage, the second stage is that choice element. Now I can sit here, be depressed and worry about, this ain't going to go right, that ain't going to go right. But coming back to that 5% of that decision that you just make to improve something, you're physically doing something. So
Mm-hmm.
the two things are, if you're in a dark place and you're sitting there thinking about something, you're not actioning, you're only consuming time.
Yeah.
Whereas
I
if
haven't
there
been
is
doing
a
anything.
problem and you're investing your time to do something about it, you're actively changing your situation straight away.
That's it. I mean, it's the same thing. I think that there's a lot of ways of saying the same thing, but essentially, it's you got to take an action. And I wish there
100.
was a better way. I wish you could all of a sudden. I mean, you could drink, you can smoke, you can have multiple partners, but you're always going to still have that same thing going on in the background. So even then, I mean, I when I got divorced, I did that. Like I did the partying, hanging out, and like it just after a while, you realize like, man, this just isn't. There's no joy in this. It's short lived. I'm distracted. But when I
Yeah,
wake back up, I feel worse because now my body feels bad and my life still sucks. It's just worse. It's a compounding effect negatively.
100%. I totally agree. And Anthony, in terms of your what you're doing, just to go in a bit more depth. So obviously, you've been in business for quite some time now. You've been helping coach. You've been doing motivational speaking. You're a professional coach. You're helping businesses and other coaches grow as well. Now,
Yep.
talk to us a little bit about that, just in case somebody is online, somebody's a bit curious. Talk to us about how you're helping people and changing their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I so essentially I give them tools to change their own life is kind of how it works. Like there's duality, right? There's the part of me that is that's heavy on like teaching people business strategies to be able to make more money and more revenue, right? And that's kind of the thing that I do in my business. So I share a lot of what I do, right, and things that
Yeah.
I've tried in the past, or so. But it's like my model is not always everybody else's model, but the things that are possible. So that's one part of it. But the big part of it, which really it's the thing that most people don't realize they need, or they fight me on it, or they fight the thought of it, is they're like, I just need the next seminar, I need the next book, I need to go, read this. I got to consume more information. And
Yeah.
then I usually sit with clients before we get started. And I'm like, all right, so, what do you have? I need to make more money. I need to have more impact. I get these things struggling. Like, well, have you ever read a book? Yeah. Have you ever gone to a seminar? Yeah. Have you 100% applied everything you've ever consumed? Well, no.
Yeah.
So is it a wonder why you're not successful? Well, it's just, it didn't work. No, did it not work, or did you not really work it? Because there's a difference, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you ask, what do I do? There's always the three legs of a tripod. And the tripod is like what you'll create. A tripod will see a camera, but in the world of our tripod, what we do in life is see is what we'll create. What life
Yeah.
I create, what money I'll create. The legs are tools, techniques, and technician. The tools and techniques are what are so prevalent in the world. We have been inundated with information lately. I can go on my inbox right now and find, not even probably like a million emails over time, but like thousands and thousands of emails. Like, here's the thing, you need this and buy this. This is the solution. This, and what we do is like, oh, sounds good. Let me buy that. Let me buy that. Let me buy that. And then I buy it and I get shelf esteem. I buy it, I put it on the shelf, and I feel good about myself. So those are the tools and techniques. But really, what it is it's the technician that changes the game. The
100%.
right technician has a Midas touch. Like, there's people that you and I probably both know in our worlds that no matter what you give them, they will just, for some reason, they always make it work. They always
Yeah.
find a way to win. And people
100%.
think it's because they have new strategies. There's different stuff they know. And yes, some of them they do because they've been in the game longer. They might know more, but really what it is, they have the right identity to execute on the stuff that they already currently have. And when I
Yeah.
say identity, people immediately think like, oh, it's just mental woo-woo stuff. Like, no, your identity is the most tangible part of who you are. It's how
Mm-hmm.
you show up every single day in the world. It may be
Yeah.
a silent driver, but it's there. And so for me, I look at what is this thing that's running your life that you aren't actually running,
Mm-hmm.
because it's constantly like the thoughts, the actions, the beliefs, the systems you have, habits. It's all your identity. It's who you are. But a lot of people have no process in place to program that or control that. So when I
Yeah.
work with business owners, well, a lot of what I'm doing is spending time in the in-between moments of when they're told to do something and for some reason they procrastinate, or it's like, I'm tired, I'm gonna just do that tomorrow, or I'll read that book next week, or I'll write that book next week, and it never ever gets done, or they question if they should put it out, or they build it and they're timid to push it out there, or they don't want to do a live stream, or whatever these things are. It's like those are the things you struggle with. And here's the problem: that problem that you're stuck at right now, that's not the problem that'll make you money. The problem that'll make you money that you'll solve is up here. But if you were
Yeah.
stuck down here, battling with stuff down here, you won't even get to the position to be able to solve the problem that'll make you, or make a better
100%.
relationships, or make you happy. And so the thing is, people who are up here, the stuff that you're struggling with, like, doesn't even faze me anymore. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even think of it as a problem. It's just natural for me to not even worry about that or think about it, or just to naturally tackle it before it becomes a problem. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I'm working with people is like, how do we get to the point where you're the kind of person who you just operate up here nonstop, all day, every day, no question. It's just who you are. And because that kind of human being is the one that succeeds. And so for me, part of it is strategy. I must give people strategy and actions to put into place and actually start working. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it so that when they get to the moment where their identity might slow them down, now I can show them, like, here's the next ratcheting up, the next refinement, the next piece of
Yeah.
programming. Then the ball keeps moving to where when I'm done with them, they're facing problems up here that are the gateways that are money. They're no longer
Mm-hmm.
stuck down here dealing with things that are honestly a waste of time and shouldn't be a problem anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds amazing. That's absolutely wonderful. And I'm sure your clients have had some amazing success stories as well, because
A
with
bunch
the
of them.
way that you're describing the techniques and the tactics that you're implementing in their businesses, it starts with them. Once they've got
Always.
them, it's all about how you overcome challenges. And I think that's what business is in anything in life. And whether we're talking to friends or family, we're always in a process where we're negotiating something with somebody. And the only way you're able to tackle that is if you've got the right tools, you know how to use the tools that you consume. And it goes back to
Yeah.
what you're saying in the past, and I totally agree. As in, it's the only information and the knowledge we're going to take away with us is what we've extracted for ourselves. Now that's, your books, listening to mentors, listening to coaches. Once you've got those people, you're actively listening, then start actioning what they're doing, and 100% that will produce the results that these guys need.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I
in
mean,
terms of,
part of it, even actioning isn't even a thing. It's not even always actioning what somebody's doing to get there. Because there's things I could look at that you're doing that I'd be like, oh, I can do that. And I get into the weeds of it. And it's like, there's parts, but like, that's not who I am. Because there's what's called an ideal identity. And I
yeah,
think the thing is that some people don't think about, well, who's the identity that I'm trying to be like. Because there's parts of identities, there's 6 core drivers that all float within social, cultural, and racial norms, right? So
mm-hmm.
who I am in America may not fit in London, may not fit in Australia, may not fit in Brazil, right? But if I can understand what the ideal identity is for my dream and
Mm-hmm.
shift into that identity, now I can become successful. So it's not always modeling all that person's actions, but it's modeling that person's core identity traits, because
Yeah,
then the actions become autopilot. Like that's the goal, is for us to get to the point where things that overwhelm us, they're just easy. Like that, if you
mm-hmm.
think about, like I tell people this, if your hero was to follow you around for a day, what would they say?
Yeah,
Because the thing about your heroes doing things, moving a level above and beyond you, would they come to you and say, oh, yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, I get that. Totally. That should hang you up. You should be stuck right there. Yeah, that makes sense. Or would they be like, look, I get that you're saying that's a problem, but that can't be a problem for you. Because if that's a problem for you, you'll never get here. And
uh-huh.
most people don't want to accept that. There's a veil in front of them of like, no, 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 I've worked real hard. I did my best. No, you worked as hard as you feel comfortable. You did the
Yeah,
best you could, but the best you can do is not good enough. And that's okay, because
mm-hmm.
now you give yourself permission to improve. And when you
Yeah,
give yourself permission to improve, now you can start to get the next tier. And improvement isn't always doing what your heroes are doing. It's
mm-hmm.
doing what your next step is.
Yeah, 100%. Because everybody's journey is individual, and I totally agree with that. As in, there's up to a certain element that you can see how people are doing it, but you have to put your own finesse onto it, and that's only by understanding who you truly are, what your passions are, what you want to achieve. Once you've got all these core elements in place, only then you can. I think you are in a, maybe probably getting close to you, running down to your son. Just
You got a
before
couple
we
minutes.
one final thing that I wanted to say is, what's your advice to people that are looking to get into your space? Because I know a lot of people are sitting at home thinking about, now's the right time to, work on myself, potentially
Yeah.
start a business. A lot of people want to, build on their passion, but they don't know how to do it. What would your
Yeah.
advice be to those people?
I mean, that's such an, I mean, it's an open question. That's the problem. Is some people think that in order to be in the space, you have to be like me. You have to have a hard life and do something, achieve the NFL and business, but you really don't. You have to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what finish line you have crossed that other people are trying to cross.
Yeah.
Because we're all running a race, right? There's a race we can run. And so
Mm-hmm.
what you do is say, okay, in the race I'm running, some people they'll sit here and say like, I want to speak and talk, but I haven't accomplished everything you've accomplished yet. Totally cool. Don't
Yeah.
promise or sell crossing that finish line. But maybe you did cross the finish line of losing weight. Maybe you did cross the finish line of fixing your marriage. Maybe you did cross the finish line of being a good parent. Maybe you did cross the finish line of getting the job you wanted, right? Who
Yeah.
else wants to cross that finish line and step back and say, all right, what was the steps that I had to take that got me to this place? And then start talking about that. That's essentially the base of it. That's the core. And usually what it starts with is you getting clients and work them through a process. But here's the problem with that for a lot of people. They want to do it, but they don't trust internally that they're the person you have to charge for it. They have the imposter syndrome. And that is a
Mm-hmm.
monster, man. It beats a lot of people up before they even get started. So what I recommend to folks is start the process of something without knowing for sure that you have the specific solution, but have the heart knowing that you won't sleep until you find it.
Yeah.
And so when I have somebody like when I'm start with them, like, look, we're going to create a process. You're going to have to sell this thing, but it's a new process. For sure it hasn't been tried and tested yet, right? Yeah, I know it's be difficult, but are you okay with taking somebody's money and not helping them? No, never do that. Okay, cool. So what if we just look at it this way? You're going to be a problem solver. They're going to pay you to solve their problem, and it might be solving the problem in the moment of it. You've already spent time looking at stuff you've already done, so you've already kind of got a leg up. You
Yeah.
probably have some hidden strengths that you don't even realize are there, but they're going to rise to the top once you get in with a client, because now you're going to have this internal obligation to do the work and show up. And so my clients usually get started, and the things that we do, they're like, oh, you know what? I got in, I didn't even think about this thing, or this popped up, or I'm struggling here. And it's like, cool, let's solve it. What do we do to
Yeah.
solve the problem with this person? Oh, we can do this. Perfect. Add to your program. Oh, yeah, do it. They do it. The client comes back like, oh, thanks so much. Now they get that confidence of like, oh, wow, I actually can do this. And then it grows and it grows. But you got to start without full 100% confidence. You have to have confidence, not in the process, but in you being able to show up when they need it. If you have confidence that you'll show up and not sleep till they win, start the process.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds amazing. And you know what, Anthony, it's been absolutely phenomenal speaking to you, getting a slight insight of your mindset. And I think the people that have come online, all the comments that I've been reading while we've been having a chat, they're just flooding in. And I am sure a lot of people that are in a position where they need some sort of advice, by all means, just reach out to Anthony. He's got the right formula that he's implemented in his life, and I'm sure he will help you achieve the goals that you guys. Just finally, before I let you go, Anthony, is there anything you want to say to your followers, to people that should watch out for something that's exciting coming out? I know we briefly spoke about what you were doing last night, but is there anything else in particular you want to shout out about?
No, I mean, I just, for me in the world I work in, man, my work is out there. If it resonates with you, you're like, man, this guy's saying some things that sound good. I want some more information. Just DM me the word shift. I mean, for me in my life, I just live in a really transparent way. And here's what I sell me. If you want to, honestly, I sell the life that I live, not even in a sense of like, you're going to have a wife and 3 kids, but like, I'm at peace and I have joy. I love what I do. This is the finish line I've crossed. I've overcome a lot of stuff in relationships. I remarried my ex-wife. I have an amazing marriage. Like, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm a coach. Like, I have all these things I've done. And that's what I know through and through. So that's what I work with people on. So if somebody's in that space of like, all right, I would like to have a good relationship. I want to be healthy. I want to have a good body. I want to have a business that runs smooth. I know it's going to take some time, but I want to know how to put the effort in the right direction. Just DM me the word.
Sorry, you cut out there, Anthony. Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, my bad. I'm back now. Yeah. I said if somebody's in a place they want some help, just DM me the word shift and I'll guide them through the process of what it looks like to work with me.
Fantastic. Guys, you've heard it here from Antony himself. If there is anything that you want to, reach out, by all means, he's one of those people that is going to be more than happy to help you on your journey. So I wish you the very best of luck, Antony. Honestly, what you've achieved so far, where you've come from, you're definitely setting an example. And I think the most amazing part of your journey is where you originally came from, the limitations that you were presented just by being in that environment and how you overcome them. You've achieved something absolutely amazing, and everybody has that greatness within them as long as you're consistent, as long as you're not idling around, you're taking them steps, whether they're big leaps or whether they're baby steps. You are one of those people that have taken the step and managed to change your life. Now, honestly, I can't stress enough how amazing this conversation's been, Anthony. Obviously, I do want to potentially catch up with you maybe in a couple of months or a couple of years, just to see where you've gone and how people have, been reacting to how you've been supporting them, and the advice that you've given, absolutely phenomenal. So thank you very much. And yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, buddy.
You as well, man. Take care, everybody.
Fantastic. Take care. See you later, everybody. And take care. Bye-bye. Keep safe.